All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's call of the Crypto Mondays Collective. We've got a great returning guest today, Joshua Sitzer, the Chief Business Officer of Unanimous AI. Unanimous AI kind of combines the intelligence of swarms in AI with humans, I think, to do some really special stuff. And so we're excited to get an update from them. Um, uh, but Joshua, also I just realized, are you familiar with the Decentralized AI Agent Alliance?
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. No, I don't believe I am.
Okay, well, we'll tell you about that. It's an alliance that Crypto Monday set up a couple months ago, basically to help proliferate decentralized AI. And we're now more than 50 members. We have working through subgroups, solving the problems that we're all trying to solve. But instead of solving them in silos, we're solving them together. So look forward to following up with you about that shortly. Um, uh, and let's see. Before we do that. Um, yeah, we had really good Crypto Mondays Bitcoin in New York this week. We had over 100 people there at PubKey, which is the home of Bitcoin in New York. It's part of the decentralized AI. I'm sorry, part of DAS, the Digital Asset Summit, which is here in New York this week. So there'll be lots of events for the folks in New York this week. And then real quick, because I think I mentioned before, next few weeks are Crypto Monday Tel Aviv, Crypto Monday Porto, and Crypto Mondays Paris. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be seeing anybody on the call at any of those,
How
but
do you?
sorry, Steve? Up.
No, I get a mute.
Oh, okay. I thought Josh Lang. I think hopefully we'll see Josh at Crypto Monday Paris.
Hey,
Uh,
everybody.
hey,
Yeah. And maybe when you talk to Ksenia tomorrow, you're going to see a big surprise. I got a potential big surprise speaker for you tomorrow. We'll chat tomorrow.
oh, nice. Okay, looking forward to hearing about that. Um, but and it's great. The collective. Obviously, we're spending a lot of time at the intersection now of uh, decentralized, AI and Web3 and AI. And so I think it's super timely to have Josh back here and give us an update on everything that Unanimous AI is up to. So with that, I'll turn the floor over to Josh.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the invite. As Lou said, this is my second time. And actually, this invite is very timely because we've really accelerated what we're doing. And I can't wait to tell you about the new platform that we've launched. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here, and I've got some slides to take you through. Um, the first part of this, and I'll keep it brief, will be a little bit of review for anybody who is on the first time I was here. But for anybody who's new, I think this will help us all have some shared context. Let me go into presentation mode here. Move a couple windows around. Okay. All right. So I'm here representing Unanimous AI, and for those of you who don't know, we are an AI company, but we're a different kind of AI company than most of the ones that everybody's talking about in 2025. Whereas all of those companies, for the most part, are out there trying to replace people with algorithms for a variety of different use cases. What we do at Unanimous AI with our platforms is different. We use our platforms to connect groups of people together and make the group significantly smarter together. So in a few words, what we do is we build collective superintelligence. And specifically what I mean when I say that is we take groups of people, they can be teams of any kind, or they can be external stakeholder groups, and we have them log on to one of our two platforms simultaneously. And what the platforms enable is they enable each individual to bring their individual intelligence to the table, but then combine that with the intelligence of everybody else who's logged in at the same time to generate this new emergent superintelligence, which is smarter, more accurate, more predictive than any of the individuals would be on their own. The highest level, that is what we do. But let me start this presentation by framing up the problem that lots and lots of organizations face, including maybe this one or some of the ones that you work with. And it looks something like this. What if we have the best and brightest minds working on critical problems, but they fail to collaborate effectively, and so they fall short? What if we make the wrong decision? It could be a wrong product, a wrong hire, a wrong plan, wrong investment, when the right one was right in front of our nose? What if we allocate resources to the wrong priorities and put ourselves at a disadvantage? What if that next breakthrough is at our fingertips, but we miss it? These are the kind of problems that keep CEOs and other leaders up at night, and the root cause is actually very straightforward. See, every good organization has intelligence and expertise. These are typically the trusted members of our team. We've hired them in many cases, but they just sometimes struggle to collaborate optimally, and they just fail to tap into it. Very common. It happens all the time in all kinds of organizations. But unfortunately, this is especially true when it comes to making those key decisions that require the most accurate evaluations, forecasts, and predictions. That's where Unanimous AI comes in. We developed a fundamentally new form of artificial intelligence called Swarm AI, and I'm going to explain why we call it that for those of you who don't already know. But Swarm AI is built into our online software platforms, the original called Swarm, which I told you guys about, I think it was a couple of years ago, and our newer one, which is called ThinkScape. And the value prop for both of these platforms is this, that Swarm and ThinkScape make teams smarter together. And that's because they both empower teams to access and then amplify their collective intelligence. And that produces significantly more accurate evaluations, forecasts, predictions, et cetera, ultimately leading, we hope, to better decisions that are going to outperform the individuals time and time again. So how does this work? Well, we like to start with the somewhat controversial notion in today's AI world, and that is that people are smart. And if you think about it, every member of this group, every member of any team that you work with, they all come to the table with their own unique human intelligence. So think of anyone that you know, and then think about the sum of all of their knowledge, their wisdom and insights, their experience, their opinions, their intuition, their expertise. And now the question is, in a group setting, how can we harness and amplify all of that in our larger groups to make smarter decisions, solve harder problems, get more accurate group insights? Now, our philosophy at Unanimous AI, where this all starts from, is that people are not just data points for mathematical aggregation. Typically, the way we generate the collective intelligence of some group is to give them a poll or a survey or a vote, and then we tally those up and aggregate all those data points and pull things out of there like averages, most popular answers. But again, people are not just data points. People are capable of being data processors that can think and deliberate together. And that brings us to the biological phenomenon known as swarm intelligence. So how does that work? Well, it turns out that nature, and when I say nature, by the way, I'm talking about simple species in nature, creatures like birds, fish, bees that have brains a fraction of the size of our human brains. But these species in nature have evolved an optimized method for amplifying the intelligence of groups, and they've done this as an evolutionary necessity. So how does nature do this? Well, first of all, what nature doesn't do is what we humans do. Nature doesn't take a vote or a poll or send out a survey. There's no big data in the beehive to analyze historical data sets. No, what nature does is it forms systems. And that school of fish that you see there in this on this slide is an example of a system in nature. And these are real-time systems with feedback loops. That's the key, is the feedback loops that enable the groups to converge on optimal solutions together. Biologists call this swarm intelligence, as I mentioned, and you'll see the inspiration then for our name, for our technology, but it's fundamentally why birds flock, fish school, and bees swarm. They have figured out over the course of thousands of years that they're smarter together than they would be on their own. And so the question that we ask at Unanimous AI is this: if birds and bees and fish can get smarter in swarms, why can't people do it? I mean, as a species, humans do not swarm like this. Give us another 10,000 years of evolution, and maybe we will. But sitting here in 2025, humans cannot swarm. However, we would say that we can, we just need some technology to help us. And so in 2014, we invented artificial swarm intelligence, or swarm AI. And so if that school of fish that you see there once again is an example of a natural swarm intelligence system. What you see here on the right is actually what our original UI from Swarm looks like, but that's an example of an artificial swarm intelligence system, or Swarm AI system for short. And I don't want to spend too much time on Swarm because I want to get to the new platform ThinkScape, but just as a reminder for how this works, each of those little yellow magnets that you see flying around in this animation is representative of a person who is logged into the platform from somewhere in the world, and they're using their mouse or their touch screen to control that magnet to exert a pull on that glass puck that you see in the center. And they're working together with all the other humans, all the other magnets, to ultimately drag that puck to the answer that they can best agree upon from the choices that you see distributed around that hexagon. And so in this case, you've got this group of people all working together in real time to answer this question about interest rates. What's the probability that interest rates will rise over the next 4 months? And you can see that they dragged the puck as a collective to the 60 to 80% answer. And we would say that that answer represents the answer they can best agree upon, the group's true collective sentiment. And so then Swarm is a real-time system with human participants who are acting, reacting, and interacting, revealing the strength of their convictions to the underlying algorithms and to each other, frankly. And so, again, Swarm is our original platform. We've been in market with Swarm as a product or solution for clients since 2017. It's been extremely popular. You can see some of the logos of customers that we've worked with over the years using the original Swarm platform. But as time has gone on, as much as we like the Swarm platform and our clients like the Swarm platform, we recognized that it was missing something. And the thing that was missing was the fact that it's that graphical interface. People miss out on having natural language conversation, or what we would call conversational deliberation, which is just a fancy way of saying a conversation. But the reason that's important is that we believe that conversational deliberation is the most important collaboration method for evaluating problems, generating ideas, surfacing insights, finding solutions that harness the combined knowledge, wisdom, and insights of a group. Basically, what I'm saying is a smart group sitting around a table talking to each other to solve problems is maybe the most important collaboration method there is. And that's not what Swarm was doing. But there's a problem with conversations. It's really only viable for small groups. Ideal size, there's social science that has studied this, but the ideal size for a group conversation is 4 to 7 people. And if you reflect on your experience, think about the last time that you had a group that was larger than that, say 10, 15, 20 people, that you would say was something you would call a true conversation. In a 4 to 7 person conversation, everyone gets the airtime that they want. You don't have to wait too long to respond. Every voice can get heard. But when you have above 12 people, it's really just a series of speeches. And if it's above 20, it's really just chaos. And so we wanted to solve for that with our new platform. And so we invented what we call conversational swarm intelligence about 1.5 years ago. And we introduced this technology in a product that's called ThinkScape. And what ThinkScape does is it combines the power of Swarm AI with large language models on the back end. And we're agnostic to the LLM. It could be ChatGPT, it could be Gemini, it could be some other LLM on the back end. But it amplifies the collective intelligence of any size group, theoretically up to 2,500 people, through a real-time conversational deliberation. So just to double click on that, what I'm saying is that up to 2,500 people can actually have a real conversation together using ThinkScape. It leverages a simple text chat interface, and I'm going to show this to you. It enables not only closed-ended questions, like you saw that multiple choice question when I showed you the Swarm platform. ThinkScape enables open-ended questions, unstructured problems, even brainstorming. And it's capturing not only the answers to questions that we might have, but it's also getting at the subjective reasons why, the justifications for the answers that the groups come up with. And it's still amplifying the collective intelligence of any size group. So how does ThinkScape work? Well, again, let's start with a hypothetical group of, say, 100 people. And as we mentioned, typically in human life, it would be impossible for 100 people to have anything resembling a real conversation with everyone participating. So the first thing that we do in Thinkscape is we divide that larger group into subgroups of a maximum of 7 or 8 people. We call these groups think tanks. And so each one of these groups is cordoned off into its own chat room. So it's a chat room experience. And so each group of 7 is having their discussion about whatever the topic might be, whatever the question might be. But then where it gets exciting is we use the LLM on the back end to insert an AI agent into each one of these rooms. And the agent's job is twofold. First and foremost, it's to sit there and listen. It's not participating at first. It is simply listening to the conversation, but it starts then to synthesize the insights that are coming out of that room. And then what it does is it shares those insights to all the other rooms. So effectively what's going on here is we're cross-pollinating each room with the insights from every other room. And that allows us to have a true conversation, a true conversational deliberation amongst all 100 people. So does Thinkscape, oh, sorry, one thing before I move on, just as a visualization for Thinkscape, again, if that school of fish is a biological swarm intelligence, what you see on the right-hand side is a visualization of a conversational swarm intelligence, where in this case, you've got 23 different chat rooms with the AI agents passing insights across to all the other rooms from the room that they're coming from. So does Thinkscape actually make groups smarter? I just want to share with you this fun example that shows that it does. We collaborated with Carnegie Mellon last year to do an IQ test study. We used something called the Raven Matrix IQ test, which you might be familiar with, and we administered it to groups of 35 people. And so we had some people take the test individually, but then we had a group of 35 work together using the Thinkscape platform to answer these questions as a collective. And here are the results. The average individual, not surprisingly, scored in the 50th percentile with about a 100 IQ in taking this test. When we used a wisdom of crowds methodology to basically take the most popular answer from each of those 35 people, we improved the scoring considerably. We took them all the way up to the 81st percentile, or 115 IQ. Multiple minds are better than one mind. But when we actually had this group, when we took a group of 35 people and had them work together in Thinkscape, they were able to score in the 97th percentile, or 128 IQ. So a significant amplification of intelligence. And by the way, that 128 IQ score was better than even the smartest individual. So really powerful. It really does work. So now what I'd like to do is show you what Thinkscape looks like, give you a little tour of the platform, if you will. Here's the front door where people can log in. And then if you are a moderator of a Thinkscape session, this is what the platform looks like. So what you're looking at here is your list of participants on the right-hand side. You can see there are 110 of them in this session. Your deliberation visualizer shows the number of rooms that they're all broken into. In this case, there were 22 of them. This is the chat area where you would type your answers to the prompts. You can also use the voice to text function to do it verbally. There's a media area where we can share pictures or videos that we want the group to respond to. But that's what the platform looks like. Then you've got your question area at the top, and you would put in, as a moderator or practitioner, you would put up here your question. I'm showing you an example from an actual session that we ran with 100, I think it was about 110 United States consumers about nuclear power. And the question was, what is the biggest concern about building nuclear power plants in the United States and why? So that question is given to the group, and then the discussion starts. You see the question there, and as the first thought bubble, you can see the guidance that the platform is giving to the participants. Timer is up at the top right, 6 minutes to have this discussion, and off they go. This is a global view of all 110 people who are having their conversations in the 22 different chat rooms. And so that's useful to see, but it's a little bit overwhelming. So what you can do is you can click into any one of the individual think tanks. So let's click into think tank 11, and we can see here's a discussion in one of the local rooms. So you've got your participants there on the right-hand side, and this is actually what it would look like if you're a participant in this room. One of the things to notice as you look at the thoughts that are being typed in, some of them have a little blue outline around them. Those are the insights that have come from one of the AI agents from one of the other rooms. So we're having our discussion here in Think Tank 11, and then these insights from the other rooms are organically being inserted into our conversation. You can see in real time the tracking of the local group sentiment here on the lower left-hand corner. You can see what have been the top answers to this question in our local group. And then again, as a practitioner or moderator, we can click on this button for real-time insights into all of the rooms. So in this dashboard view, you can start to zoom out on the big picture of what's happening in this discussion. In the upper left-hand corner, you see the sentiment history. And this is an aggregate of all 22 rooms, how that sentiment is building for each one of the answers across the entire group globally. You can see some of the top verbatims here in this upper right-hand corner. You can see the metrics that are associated with the sentiment for each one of these answers. And then at the end of the session, an executive summary answer to this question comes out. And you can see the top choice, the top answer to this question about concerns for building nuclear power plants in the United States was toxic waste. And the reasoning is our collective perspective is that the largest concern about building nuclear plants in the US is toxic waste. We consider the dangers of radioactive material, its long-lasting environmental and health impacts. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the point is this represents the collective sentiment of this group in one paragraph. This is their answer. So the collective sentiment of all 110 people. Now it doesn't stop there because this is powered by an LLM on the back end. We also are able to generate very detailed reports. And these are multi-page reports that go far beyond that executive summary. It has a reasoning breakdown by answer choice, cohort analysis, charts, graphs, statistical tests. There are word clouds in here. There's all kinds of data around this one particular question on nuclear power. And again, no human analyst had to create this. The AI is creating it on the back end instantaneously after the session is completed. Now, one of the things we also offer is what we call ThinkScape Insight Studio, which allow us to, after the fact, go back and see a replay of that session. So let me just give you an overview of that real quick. This is the overview page from Insight Studio for this particular question, and you can see the support that we had for the top brainstormed answers, and you can see that sentiment history on the right-hand side. All that's just summarized nicely in this slide. But if we want to explore and go into that more deeply, we can go to this screen, and you can see on the left-hand side, the top answers that were brainstormed. There were 18 total answers to this question, and we can click on any one of them to go deep on this. So if we click on toxic waste, we can see the reasons in favor of this answer. We can see the reasons against this answer. And when we click on any one of the reasons in favor, we can see the top verbatims that were supporting that. So we can go in as little or as much detail as you want in this way. Click on another one, click on cost. We see the reasons in favor of cost being the top answer. And again, the supporting verbatims for that answer. And then lastly, we can go to this analysis tab, and it gives us some metrics around, again, the answers to this question that the group came up with. In this case, it's the percent of the conversation that's represented by this answer. But we can go into something called dynamic preference, which shows how the sentiment shifted over the course of the deliberation period. And we also have demographic analysis, and a few other things that are available in cases where we set that up ahead of time. We didn't for this particular one, but we can go into, the point is you can go into great detail in breaking down the answers that come out of this platform when we have groups deliberate together very quickly in something just like 6 minutes. Oh, and this last thing that I'm showing is that you can access a replay of the entire session by clicking that play button, your playback speed, and you can see that. So just to wrap up, the use cases for ThinkScape, the collaborative intelligence platform, there are two main use cases. One is ThinkScape for Market Insights, which is, think of these as external groups versus internal groups. If you wanted to get the collective sentiment of some external group of customers or vendors or whatever it might be, you can use ThinkScape for Market Insights. But if you wanted to use this internally as a tool, ThinkScape for Team Insights can help with things like sales forecasting, business planning, strategic prioritizations, etc. Okay, so I've just blathered on. Let me stop.
No, terrific. Obviously, lots and lots of progress, exciting times. Can you talk about kind of how it's scaling? How many people are using it, and kind of give us any kind of sense?
Yeah, sure. So it's still pretty new. So it's been in market. The technology has been around since late 2023, and it's been in market since the middle of 2024. So not even a full year in market. And at this point, we can count our customers in the. I'd say we've got around 20 customers who are using ThinkScape, and those are again varying between market research clients and people who are using it for team insights. One of the top customers that I can talk about for team insights is the United States Air Force. They've been a big customer of ours for both Swarm and now for ThinkScape, using it internally for a lot of strategic prioritization type use cases.
Okay, interesting. So I'll ask one more, and then Elijah, you're next. Anybody else wants to ask a question, raise a hand. So you've got these 20 customers now using it. What are the metrics that you're looking at with regards to those 20 customers to kind of see whether you're being successful and they're getting value from the platform?
Yeah, I mean, the top thing, honestly, is do they keep using it? Are they using it once and saying, nah, that wasn't really good for us? Or are they finding the value and coming back and running multiple sessions? And also because we still are at a small number of customers, we're also able to get their actual verbal feedback as well, like what worked well, what didn't work well, etc.
Yeah, but like you said, at the end of the day, if they're using it, that's good.
Yeah, no, you can tell me it's great, but if you don't sign up for another
Yes.
session, you actually really just told me.
Exactly. Okay, terrific. Thanks. Elijah?
Yeah, so two-part question. So, how do you determine the end value? So, like using an example, like let's say on the subject of crypto, right? So, Lou's opinion about like the future of crypto, I would say is like an N of 100 versus mine is like N of 1, right? Like, how do you address that for your platform?
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, the question you're asking is what's the optimal makeup of a group in a ThinkScape session? Is that kind
I
of
mean,
what you're
yeah, so just let's use the nuclear waste analogy, right? So you've got the director of the EPA that has a strong opinion on where a nuclear power plant should be versus like no offense to like soccer moms or whatever, but like you've got the soccer mom who doesn't have a PhD, but she's concerned about nuclear waste in her backyard, right?
right?
Both are human beings, but one has a PhD and understands the actual implications of nuclear waste of you know, uh, anyhow, just as an example.
Yeah, no, what you're hitting on is really important, and the group makeup when it comes to any ThinkScape session needs some looking after to make sure that we get it right, because you're absolutely spot on. If you've got an expert with a group of 50 people and the other 49 know almost nothing, you're not going to get the ideal output from that. So a lot of times how we would address that would be if you've got that one expert, you would maybe want that person to be able to give their opinions outside of the ThinkScape environment first. Hey, here's my expert opinion on this. But really what we're after, and think about this in like a business setting where you've got a boss and maybe the boss has the most expertise, but that boss, he or she might want to be able to get the collective sentiment of their team that doesn't have as much expertise as them. Let me give you another sort of fun example that maybe will make this hit home. We did a ThinkScape session a few weeks ago going into the Oscars. And in that case, we recruited a group of movie fans. And some of those movie fans had seen all the movies, some of them hadn't. But we wanted them to weigh in on which movies were going to win these awards. And what happens in a session like this is what naturally happens is the people fill in each other's gaps. So if you've seen 3 movies that I haven't seen, but I've seen 2 movies that you haven't seen, I can help fill in your gaps. You can help fill in my gaps in the discussion. And as the discussion evolves, we're in the process of essentially convincing each other.
And so, just sorry, quick follow-up question to this. So back to the nuclear energy idea. So as I understand, the product is largely used for kind of more mass consumer use, but what about like energy exploration? So what if I wanted to figure out what's the next source of energy? And I don't want to talk to laymen. I want to talk to PhDs, like, and have them come up with the next, type of energy. Like, is this work for that?
Absolutely. No. So if you're talking about, if you, let's say you work for an energy company and you've got a team of 20 people, let's say, that work in your group, and you want to get their collective sentiment, maybe not on the next which type of energy, but maybe they're looking at different places to drill for oil, and you want them to have a conversation about that topic. They're a subject matter expert team. They probably have read a lot about this, are very familiar with it. But what you want them to do is to be able to have a collaboration about that topic.
And can you recruit those experts? Sorry, I'm going long here. This is the last question, like a GLG type of thing.
You absolutely can. You absolutely can. So
You guys would, unanimous, or that's on the client.
it's up to the client. So if the client wants us to do it, we work with recruiters. We do that all the time in the market research world. But if they've got their own group that they want to work with, their own internal group, or if they want to go to like a GLG, they can do that. We're agnostic to that. We perform that service, but we don't have to if the client doesn't want to.
Got it. Cool. No, thanks. I'll ping you. I may have something for you. Sorry for going long. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, let's see who's next. We got Charles.
Is that me, Lou, you called?
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Josh, I love what you're doing. Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
I live in Brazil and I've been here a long time. It's not my day job, but I've spent most of my life studying the biodiversity of Brazil, which of course has more biodiversity than anywhere else on the planet. And there are so many things that we can learn from nature, whether it's a beehive, the hexagon is one of the strongest structures you can imagine, or whether it's a spider's web, or even the thread of a spider, which is 1,000 times stronger than Kevlar, and so on and so forth, or ants collaborating. So I just love what you're doing. It makes so much sense. We're in the process of developing a biodiversity AI agent who's the guru of biodiversity. There's nothing he doesn't know about biodiversity. And one of the we've got an artist who's done an avatar, but maybe we'll use something that's more realistic using an AI software. But if you don't have a group of, we've got a handful of people working on that. So if you don't have 100 people or whatever, how do you get people to how do you interact with people to work out what the best image for your AI agent should be?
I guess I'm not sure I understand the question. When you say the image, are you talking about like actually what they look like?
So no, yeah, so if you want to use ThinkScape to use the collective intelligence, and you don't have 100 people to be split into groups of 7, how are you going to find people who are interested in gaming, who are going to give you the right answer of what your AI agent should look like?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And if we're not talking about a client that's got their own team of people that they know that that's who they want to use, recruiting is always involved. And so I'll just use the market research example because that's one that we're very familiar with. But when we've got a market researcher for a CPG brand, let's say Cheetos. This is actually we actually did a study with people from Kraft. I can't remember, but the study was around cheesy snack brands. So in that case, we had to recruit people that were very relevant to what the client was looking for. There were certain demographics, there were certain behavioral characteristics, and when we work with the recruiting firm, we give them those requirements, and the recruiting firm goes out and gets people. So it could be 25 to 49-year-old females living in the western part of the United States who have children who include chips and snacks in their lunches. I made that up. But I think the point is your question is very important because no matter what, the makeup of the group is critical to getting useful output out of a ThinkScape session. So we wanted to find that very carefully and try to execute on it very carefully.
Okay, so that would be a sort of bespoke service rather than a monthly fee or whatever. That would be a one-off, I guess.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I'll reach out to you. I'll send you an email, whatever. And maybe
Perfect. I'd love to hear from you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, George.
Hi, Joshua. Congratulations. Very interesting. Enjoyed very much. My question is quite simple. Is it possible to integrate this with other products? I was imagining an external product triggering a new session, providing all the setup information, and then collect the results at the end. Is this possible? Do you have an API or something that can make this automatic process?
The short answer is yes, it's possible. But the devil in the details is that ThinkScape is not yet available as a standalone SaaS product. Right now, it's not something you can license. You have to work with us as a managed service provider. So we would administer the session for you. In the very near future, we would say by the end of the second quarter, it will be available as a licensable technology. And at that point, the process of integrating into some other product is very simple because it's a web-based platform. In fact, the way you enter into a ThinkScape session is you just click on a URL, and if you click on a properly coded URL that we provide to you, you will automatically be landed into the ThinkScape environment, which is all browser-based. So you're in a web browser, and depending on what product you're coming from, that could be an iframe inside of that product, or it could just open up a separate browser window. But the technical integration, and I'm not a technical guy, but I understand the technical integration to be very simple.
Great. I'll send an email so to keep follow on that aspect.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Love to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks, George. Next question is from Josh.
Hey, Joshua or Josh, I don't know. You got the best
Fine.
name in the
It's
world.
fine. Yes, we do.
So, the very interesting technology, fantastic, and also pretty powerful in relation to thinking about democracy and democratizing conversations and getting more people's voices in there. I worked with a lot of technology similar to this in language education and teaching with inventing some technology for Pearson like this. And one of the things we encountered was in getting group feedback, small groups. So when small groups were independently having their conversations, our design with the language tools that we made were to get English language feedback so that the teacher could then have that and then reincorporate that into the class. Well, a big problem we had was silent voices, or what we call student talk time. What do you, you're facilitators. So we would, like in Japan, have to hire facilitators to get everybody to talk in those groups because a lot of people are introverts, or they don't speak up, or they don't get a chance to speak because of the dominant people that are managing it. How do you guys facilitate that to ensure that all voices are heard so that the system has enough good data to then synthesize that intelligence?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it because we agree it's super important. And the number one way that we facilitate that is through anonymity. Unless a client specifically doesn't want it, our default mode is anonymous, which means that anybody who's introverted or scared or doesn't want to talk, they can be under the cover of anonymity to transparently express their opinions. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to, but it does mean in most cases that they will. There's also built into the platform, there are reminders. If you're supposed to be participating in a Thinkscape session and you're not speaking, if you're not typing into the chat box, it will remind you, hey, Josh, you're not responding to this question. Please make sure that you do. So is it perfect? No, but we are very mindful of exactly what you're suggesting, which is we want the full participation of everybody who's there. That's the point.
This is great. And it could also have some uses in education, so I'm sure you guys are aware of that.
Yes, and we're actively working on that. I mentioned the Air Force. We have integrated both Swarm and Thinkscape into classroom settings within the Air Force. Some of their training schools within what they call Air University we are just experimenting with that right now because we want to, and the goal of it is as an engagement tool that gets people really interacting with the material that allows them ultimately to better absorb the curriculum. That's the objective that we're working towards in that environment. And so far, it's working great.
Great, man. I'll be in touch with you later.
Wonderful.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Josh. Mihai, you're up next.
Thank you, Josh. Great presentation, fascinating company, really unbelievable. Very good questions. What's your distribution model? Basically, how do you get to customers? And what do you propose them? What's your pricing? And do customers need to have someone from your team to moderate or administer, or can they do that by themselves?
Yeah, great questions. There's a lot to unpack there. So let me start.
Unanimous.ai.
Yes. Let me start with I think I mentioned this before, but I might not have been clear about it. Thinkscape right now is a managed service only. The only way that you can use the technology is to hire us to run it for you. That's not our end goal. We want this to be a SaaS product that you can license and then run your own Thinkscape sessions. And we believe we'll be there sometime in 2025. I hope by the end of the second quarter. So as of right now, the way you run a Thinkscape session is you talk to me or you talk to somebody on our team, and we set up a session for you. We run the session for you. We make sure that we're planning together with you to generate the best possible prompts to make sure that we have the right people attending, and then we'll run that session for you and make sure that you get all of the reporting and analysis out of the back end. And so we charge a service fee for that. Depending on the use case, it's anywhere from a couple $1,000s to $8,000 or $10,000, depending on the complexity, particularly in the case that we've kind of talked about here, that we need to go recruit people to participate in sessions. If it's an existing team where the team where they're bringing all the participants to the session and there's no additional work required to go do that, those are less expensive sessions. Now, the model will be different once we get to a SaaS model, and we do have a SaaS model for our original platform, Swarm, and that is a subscription pricing setup. So basically, it's a monthly fee, and that covers unlimited usage to the Swarm product. And I anticipate the Thinkscape platform, once we're able to license that out, would be a similar model.
Thank you.
Does that help?
It does help. I will get back to you. I have a couple of really interesting industry and customer specific ideas, but I'll reach out to you offline.
Fabulous. All right. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Mihai. Steve, you're up. You're on mute.
Hey, sorry about that. I wanted to just ask, you may have addressed this in your presentation, but how do you get the people to participate in the chat rooms?
Yeah, that's the key to all of this, right?
Yeah.
So if you're talking, so it depends if it's an internal team or if we're recruiting externally. But if it's an internal team, that's really up to you as the client. If you say, I want to use this with my team to tap into their collective intelligence on any topic, we say, great. Need to make sure that you, Steve, that you can bring your team with you because they're the ones who are going to be in the session.
Okay, got it. So if I could do this a bunch of different ways. I could say my internal team that needs to answer questions about my company's commercial problems. My internal team that maybe is a law firm and needs to answer legal questions. And then it's totally confidential, and our information is not shared with anyone. Okay, and or I'm a Crypto Mondays. I'm a member of something that's a little bigger, a little more distributed, and we could answer questions that way as well and have a bigger population.
Yeah, I think it'd be fascinating to do in one of the Crypto Mondays sessions. In fact, I wanted to make sure I mentioned this. I almost forgot, but we just recently.
Yeah, who wins the LLM war?
Right.
Discuss.
Well, maybe more relevant to this group is we were just hired by a crypto fund who's using the technology with their internal analyst team to forecast, which way different currencies are going to go in the market this week. So
Right.
anything like that, it could be used for.
Yeah. Okay. When is Bitcoin going to go up?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What's the probability that Bitcoin is going to go up this week, and by how much?
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you wouldn't mind sharing your contact information, would you?
I just put my email address into the chat.
That's
so
all I need.
it
Thank
should
you.
be there. Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So we don't have any more questions. I'll leave you with one more. What do you think if you come back for a third time next year? What do you think we'll be talking about next year that we're not talking about today?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I hope that the answer to that is that there is a far better understanding globally of human in the loop AI tools like what we offer. There's so much cool stuff happening in AI right now. Most of it, if not all of it, is about replacing people with algorithms. And for some things, we know that we want there to be a human flavor to it, either because we need it or we just want it. AI doesn't necessarily share our ethics and values, but if it's a human in the loop AI where that's sort of embedded into the gray matter between our ears, it's automatically there. So I don't know if that's the perfect answer to your question, but that's something that we certainly hope for.
Sure. So if I hear you right, what you're saying is next year you're probably going to be an AI.
Right. Most likely. Most likely.
Well, again, thanks for coming and sharing it. It was obviously a very popular talk and generated a lot of great questions. Thanks, everyone. See you on Friday.
Thank you, everyone. And again, my email address is in the chat. I'd welcome hearing from any of you. Thanks, Lou. I appreciate the invite.
See you, Josh. See you, everyone.